Franco plays
Franco.
yesterday.
Yeah, it came out from absolutely nowhere. We did see Jay trying to pull that off, but it didn't quite work too well for them. But regardless, maybe this time is Rapidu showing us how a Franco is supposed to be played.
Yeah, I think for yesterday there were a little bit of chinks in their armors. Not to say they had a perfect game, but right now, especially against Team Evil, I mean, after yesterday's match against Team Flash, Absolute Zero definitely goes back to the drawing board. They really need to adjust how their execution is, and I think pretty similar playstyles from Evil and Flash, albeit Evil likes to play that team fight a little bit more. So the draft is set. We're going into the bans. Coach Carrot gonna be taking out Matilda as well as the chip. Don't want to deal with that. I think Loi, like you mentioned earlier, would be high contest for these two teams. Absolute Zero, on the other hand, gonna ban out the Badang as well as the Moskov.
So at this point and between these two teams, I think that if the Loi were to be leaked out, okay, never mind. If the Loi were to be leaked out, I think that Loi could actually potentially be a first pick material.
Yeah. Both teams honestly play Loi impeccably well, especially for Sayla. I personally like the way that Sayla plays that Loi. You're not actually actively using diversions to find prey. You're basically just using diversion as sort of like an intimidation factor to push the enemy away so that they don't uh, get a chance to step out of their base, especially on a defensive position. Baxia eventually gets leaked out, going over the hands of Evil. Powerful plays that very well, especially in the previous couple of weeks where he sets the momentum, sets the pace. I think it is definitely a trade up going for Phoveus, because if they leaked out Phoveus, I remember last week where Gear was actually playing the Phoveus also, and you have Baxia on one end of the buff of the opponent's side of the jungle, and you have Gear on the other hand, and basically your opponents just can't step foot in.
Now, AZ do have the opportunity to pick up a Lucas for themselves, followed after the Kalia. We have definitely seen Nan play the Lucas quite a lot within of this tournament, so it's not out of the question to see that, unlike RSG, which Braze coming in new, probably didn't really have a lot of that experience and that opportunity to learn the Lucas. So Lucas is still on the board. We could still very possibly see that coming in from Evil. And so far, Vincent has been taking quite a bit of a liking for assassins junglers as well. So with the Hayabusa currently available, I wouldn't be surprised if they were to focus on that. However, Granger and Juiced is going to be their pick of this game.
I think for the first couple of games when Evil went up against RSG, Kimmy was wide open, but I think they feel like the Kimmy wasn't doing as much because they needed someone that was more utility based. Sure, the traction pulse is able to set things up in motion, but then the follow-up needs to come through. Now that you don't have the Badang in question, Evil can't really do anything with this. And now, Juicin Baxia as a mid lane duo has a lot of wave clearing pressure, especially in early game. Get that fast rotations to match the tempo and speed that Pharsa brings to the table. But honestly, though, Absolute Zero learning from RSG, picking up the 1-1 for themselves.
Okay, so 1-1 is definitely going to be a pretty good pickup for them, but it doesn't necessarily kind of tell us what direction they want to go with this team comp. The Faster can play into the Kalia's pickoff potential very well. 1-1 could do the same as well, so we do have some combo that we could see here. Regardless, we could still definitely expect to see... Okay, so the Kalia is very likely going to be EXP lane, right? With Vendetta being so good at that. So with the Roma currently available, Mathilda is also one of these heroes that we got to look out for. The Franco has been banned out by Evil, so I'd really appreciate that respect ban coming from them.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like both of these two teams not too worried about the assassin picks, but then you still have...
Okay.
Yeah, Gato Kacha that is very highly possible to be played in the EXP side or in the roam position, because we saw Vendetta playing the Kalea and the EXP before. So if they have the Gato Kacha, then Juicin or Granger would get zoned out by AOGs being thrown at them all the way through. They could potentially also look at the jungles, because Nan as well as Vincent play lean mean assassins. Lings are definitely going to be hotly contested for the side of Absolute Zero as a strong counter for Juicin.
Not to forget, there is a possibility of Evil trying to go for Ube.
Ube?
There
Maybe.
is the possibility. However,
Would it be with the Florin or the Estes?
I would like to believe with the Estes because at this point in time, okay, so Evil have yet to really show their EXP laner, but if they want to go for a jungle Baxia, I will say the Florin is okay, but they will want to go for a little bit more on the dually side if they want to pick up the Florin,
What
just to
about-
make full use of the cleanse of the anti-heal.
What about glue? Now you
Uh,
don't have the Feramis to deal with. You only have the
yep.
Parsa, so you can pick up the glue
If
for
they
yourself.
want the glue, the EXP can actually be a pretty good choice. Regardless, they will want to play in a team fight scenario. So for AZ, they have actually decided to pick up an Xborg to deal with a very potential thick front line. Baxia is too flexible at this point. It could go to the jungle, it could go to roam, it could go to XP. Regardless, the Xborg is a pretty good answer to the Baxia regardless.
True damage definitely hurts Baxia more than ever. Right now, EXP as well as the roam position, the jungle in question, Ling, will be picked up by the side of Evil.
Okay.
Just to have easy backline access towards Farsa, and you have decent wave clear as well. Not to mention, I think Ling Baxia combo definitely has a lot more mobility within the early to mid stages of the game. So once Harpo sets things up in motion, you have Ling coming through, and of course the glue gets linked through, going into the hands of Gear. Last pick, Vendetta will secure it with that CC. Not too fond of it in
Clear
the
roam.
late game. Yeah.
I think this is our first time seeing Rapidude picking up a clear. They have decided to play the CC into the glue instead. I think that that's okay. But there was definitely at one point in time where Xborg is a viable counter to glue. So I would have expected that they keep to the current draft without derailing over to pick up a CC for themselves, put the Xbox instead of the jungle over to the EXP to deal with the glue, at least get a winning lane from there. The Kalia still goes over to Rapidude, but they change it up they change up the junglers in this case.
Well, I'm just looking at lane to lane matchups. I think definitely CC can hold herself up against
sure,
that glue.
yes.
Honestly though, Vendetta has been playing very well in the EXP side as well. So jumping into this game, this is match number 1 of the second series of today. It's going to be Absolute Zero up against Evil. Loser of this goes down to get annihilated and kicked out of competition. But still, 4th place for both these two teams, fighting for and securing their 3rd place.
Yeah, so how is it gonna be like? That's the question.
Oh man, finally. After a long wait, here we are once again, ladies and gentlemen. Evil versus Absolute Zero, and hopefully all the battle spells are right this time around. Just to get a little bit of a recap, we've got Ben, Powerful, Sayla, Vincent, and Gear rocking and piloting the Granger, Baxia, Juicin, Ling, and Glue from the side of Evil. And on the side of Absolute Zero, though, Sayla's on the 1-1, Rapidude on the Kalea, Buji, Farsa, Non-Export, and Vendetta with the CC. Now, we covered a lot about the lane-to-lane matchup, especially on the top side, but speaking of which, Ben taking a lot of damage, up Purify as a precautionary measure, but here comes Powerful, though. Weakness points getting popped up. You also have the Vitalize, missing everything. Ben gets out safe.
Yep, small little short-range artillery, I suppose. But both Silas as well as Van were both in really crucial HP per se, but no bueno for both of these two teams, unfortunately. But in the meantime, we do have got quite a lot of these battle spells actually used up from the side of Evil already. 2 of which are Purifies. Even Van picked up a Purify for himself, as well as a single Revitalize from the side of Powerful.
Yeah. Ben's in a tricky situation. You got the Blast Insanity trying to go straight to Ben. Won't be able to survive this one. First blood goes over the hands of Don. Vincent from the flank, finding Salus. Good trade right there. Non taking down low to set their sights up on Rapidude. Able to run away safe with his rapid boots.
If only it's actually Rapid Boots.
It's not really a rapid boot.
It's not Rapid Boots, but it's Rapid Dude.
I like to play the puns.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not that good at puns, so if I actually do make any puns, it's only because it's completely intentional. It's 2 minutes into this game. Both teams are generally very aggressive in their lanes, trying to put a lot of pressure into the gold lane. It seems like they do want to pivot a bit more of that win condition and direction more towards the gold laners, get them out of the lane or funnel some farm over.
Speaking of funneling, you get a nice zone potential. Here, having his possession onto Vendetta for the split. Here comes Powerful, locking them down. Bucci goes down. Nan holding on to his last insanity. He has the ultimate. Going in for Powerful, takes him down in the process, but here comes Vincent for the cleanup. Rapidude is next on the chopping block. Will be able to sustain enough to almost take Vincent down, but he ends up falling into the graveyard by the hands of Gear. And on the top side though, 1v1, Ben wins out on that trade.
That's a very big trade coming in from the side of Evil. They managed to win more than 2 games coming in, so at least I gotta have to say that, okay, that is also a flicker expanded from the side of Fuji. Very important for the next upcoming fight. With a Feathered Asteroid with no flicker, Evil should be able to play a bit more defense, or rather, a little bit more offensively.
Yeah, good start from Evil. Better than the last 2 games that we saw against RSG. Right now, they have a good early game start, especially for Gear, where he is able to find that back lines and disrupt it before things go south. And I think the fact that Absolute Zero doesn't have any mid lane counter towards this glue might spell trouble, especially if you're sleeping into the mid to late stage of the game. But Sayla getting caught up with the Feathered Airstrike, able to use the Crimson Beacon to get out of the way for her now. But here comes Powerful rolling in the deep, trying to find a trade, but no luck. Jose is Evil constantly getting all these farms and trying to psych themselves up for the next turtle.
Yep, then that was an ultimate for an ultimate, so no big deal when it comes down to battle spells at this point in time. But I definitely gonna expect that the early stage of the game, actually, you know, the tempo-wise, Evil and Absolute Zero, they are relatively similar. I don't really expect too much out of both of these 2 teams in the early, mid, and late stages. They both have got their respective power spikes in all of these stages.
Zilla doesn't have the Purifier right now. The mid side, a little bit of a skirmish from Nan. Still trying to farm up. Getting his power spikes is key because early game export doesn't have as much damage as you want them to. But then again, we talked about the CC and the export, which is basically very skill reliant, very spell vampy, and I think Absolute Zero just wants to play this around. The bottom side though, getting immobilized, I think Netta might be able to get out safe unless possession might come through and getting pulled back, but Vengeance stops it just in a nick of time. Huge airstrike onto Vincent, unable to find any luck onto Ling.
It was close though. Just shy of a single artillery strike before Vincent eventually would have went down, but this is gonna be a 4v3.
Oh, not stolen away. The turtle been pulled in. Fuji trying to pull everyone back with the claw. That's a lot of damage from Vincent. Able to swoop down and pick one off in the process. Vendetta down low. Vincent picks up yet another one before going down himself, but a hand to Bucci. That's a 1-2 trade as Evil trying to ramp up the aggression. Bucci starting off with the Feathered Airstrike, but here comes Ven to push him away. Damage is starting to show. Level 7 for most of the high damage dealers on the side, on both sides though.
So Evil definitely with a little bit more of better time when it comes down to these team fights. In total, 3 more kills than Absolute Zero. But when it comes down to the macro game and of course general economy, it doesn't seem like Absolute Zero is too far off. They're only a little bit off 1,000 gold, but they might be able to pick up a little bit more at this point in time. Salas focuses down to the bottom lane.
One more weakness points. Does have the crossbow tank at the ready. Tsunami Slam over the minions. Salas tries to pull it back in, holding on to the crossbow tank. Doesn't want to activate it just as of yet. It's a 3-on-1. Absolute Zero secures yet another kill for themselves. Staying afloat in this game. And I think for a community team, we touted them the King Slayers. They're facing up against ex-King Slayers in the form of Evil.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or Giant Slayers,
Giant
so
Slayers.
to speak. And it's a battle of the Titans.
Maybe one day we'll have a God Slayer.
Maybe one day we'll have a God Slayer.
Technically speaking, it's fair to say that Flash is a god because they have like 3 Ps. So anyone that brings them down is a God Slayer.
Hey, same can be said about RSG. They also are 3 Ps.
Oh. Wait, did they?
Yeah, oh. That is the curtain call. Able to lock Powerful down with Gear. Doesn't seem like they're on the same wavelength as Gear. Needs to be able to defend against the bottom side T1. Then slowly but surely getting those power spikes, getting those farms, and the damage is starting to hurt. Last turtle of the game spawned up 1 minute before the Lord actually comes through. What will Absolute Zero do?
At this point, Absolute Zero, they're gonna have to try to steal a little bit of these objectives if they really could. None is currently at level 11 versus Vincent at level 10. They could go.
Nice thumb slam onto Gear, able to finish him off. Not tanky enough now as Absolute Zero finding trades all over the map. Rapidu in a spot of bother, no more dash. Vincent doesn't want to commit to this one. It's Evil just getting the trades as they can. And scoreline equalized 6-6 and 21-21k goal.
Speaking of combat, actually kind of surprised that Nan and the entirety of Absolute Zero didn't want or kind of reserve themselves for that third hurdle. I did mention that Nan was at level 11 while Vincent was at level 10. So technically speaking, if we want to talk about 50-50 chances, Nan has got way better chances.
Speaking of Nan, getting pulled back, the Raga armor popped up, powerful, taking a lot of damage. The crossbow tang soars him into the sky. Salas picks up one after another. Gear deep into enemy territory, tries to put him back, but gets that flicker out of the way. And Gear secures yet another one from the back line. Then free hitting, free damage. That's a lot of hits that they have to take in. Might not be enough as Absolute Zero goes for a retreat, pulling one more back as Nan gets Immortal popped up as well. That's all that they can get for now. It's a 1-2.
That's a very good priority coming in from Evil. They realize that as long as they are able to break Nan's Firaga armor, most of that team fight is gonna be relatively useless, right? Because once he's out of Firaga armor, those heat stacks doesn't really deal all that much damage, and they can just ignore Nan throughout that entire ordeal. In fact, let him build up onto the bounty if he ever to get any more kills, and then kill him for the bounty in the future. So now, I like where Evil is coming from. Just leave Nan be, top off the Firaga armor, and generally they win team fights.
Yeah, you have basically with the Firaga armor and Immortality, that is 4 lives that you have to take out from Nan before he gets the CC immunity. So you have a little bit of iframes they can play with around the Borg. Now, seeping into the late game mark or going into mid game, Powerful doesn't seem to have as much of a dominant game that he has with Baxia as he would have expected. 1-4-4 for the Baxia. Can't find his way into enemy territory deep enough before taking a lot of damage. Sayla starting to come online. Bucci does have the damage right now, and Nan is just fighting them down. Better airstrike, kick things off. Tsunami slam into the wall. Powerful, down he goes. Vendetta from the back line, trying to zone Ben and Sayla out of the way. Get Temples of Blaze, trying to push in from Saylas. Will not be able to survive from the hands of Vincent. There's another one down. Gear and Powerful keeps falling like flies. The only one they can take down is Saylas. But Ben is coming online now. They do have that damage, and they do have the mobility from the side of Evil. How will Absolute Zero play around this?
Very good 1-for-1 trade though. I think that Absolute Zero, they are not exactly out of the dodge just yet, but they can't exactly throw caution into the wind. They did lose Salas throughout the entire ordeal though, and it's only at 10 minutes into this game. They still need to allow Salas to pick up some of his farm. He's probably 3 items in, and realistically speaking, the 1-1, okay, 3 items already, so it's not too bad per se, with a total of 600 gold, but we do have to fight for the Lord right now.
Starting things off with Vendetta. Here comes Vincent, trying to find a flank down onto Vendetta. No more vengeance, down he goes. Done, popped out the Firaga armor. That would be enough to chase him out of the Cat's Den, as they are starting things off with that Lord. Nan needs to get a reset. But with Rapidu and Salas in the picture, Evil is in a tough spot. They need to be able to find a way to take this 1-1 down.
I think that Evil is in a pretty good spot. Quite a lot of gold to their name, and all 5 of them still relatively healthy. We do have the Revitalize that's used by the side of Powerful though, and doesn't have a lot of HP, so I'm not sure whether they want to force out this fight for the Lord.
Nan patiently waiting. Lord is at a 10. Nan picks it up with the Retribution, pops it. He's got the Temples of Blaze keeping him up alive, but iframes won't be enough. Salas takes him down. Absolute Zero forming a Deathfall and Avalanche coming through as Bucci takes down Powerful as well. Not only losing the Lord, but 3 members in the process. Evil, they're crumbling under the pressure.
I think that was a little bit too much forcing from the side of Evil, but it
Oh,
doesn't seem like the
Vendetta!
fight's over yet.
Curtain Call locks the 2 of them down. Crimson Beacon won't be enough. Vendetta, one more hit. He gets taken out before Ven goes down, but the damage is done. 4 members of Evil get blown up like flies, and Absolute Zero absolutely dominating this Lord fight.
What a swing! That force fight from the side of Evil, wanting to hopefully get the Lord. Eventually left Powerful as well as Gear. Lower than 50% HP. How exactly are they supposed to fight with their front line being so weak already?
Powerful way too deep in, but gets a kill onto Rapidude. That is a nice pickup, a nice find from Evil. A little bit of a consolation prize, but Absolute Zero still up on top. 3,000 gold lead. Make quick work of this Lord as Ben still slowly starting to snowball his way through. Still 3, 1, and 2. As long as he stays alive, I think they might have a better shot. Gear way too deep in. Down underneath the turret. He might be the next to fall, as Sailors will be able to pick that up.
So that's unfortunate, but it's okay. There's one man down, but Absolute Zero, if they really want to deal with Powerful, it's not like it will be that difficult because they do have a CC and an Xbox. They melt down the front line just so easily, but what happens after melting down the front lines? They need to ensure that they don't lose too much power as well. So Sylas, all he got to do is just deal easy damage from the back, and ensure that he will be able to unlock her crossbow of Tang to eventually pop off over to the backside. So as long as you realize that, oh, okay, the front lines they are about to die, they can absorb some of the crossbow tank, and then the rest goes over to the back lines. This is one of the only few ways that Absolute Zero can realistically be able to get a team wipeout through that 1-1. Everyone else, such as Defasa even, I think that they are more of a bruiser, not an executioner.
Airstrike to zone everyone out from that. You got Rapidude kicking things off. The Tsunami Slam into the wall. They go. Sailors with the mega kill. Winter Crown will buy him some time, but not from his death. He goes down as well. It's Powerful. And Green Gear falls again and again as Absolute Zero just dominating the tanks from the side of Evil. The villains can't seem to find their footing. They seem very disconnected. There's not a lot of damage, but Vincent trying to find a flank and angle. Bucci with the further airstrike once again. The Crimson Beacon might not be enough to keep Sailor out from harm's way. Vendetta goes in deep, will not be able to save Vincent from harm. As Ben, the only one left standing. Bucci cleans up shop. 5 men down and Absolute Zero for a fight of 3rd place. Absolute Zero might be 1 game away from taking it all.
Very big mistakes coming from Sayla and team, but regardless, this push coming in from the bottom lane may be the end of it.
Oh, what was that? It's a lot of damage coming in from the 2 tanks, but it's 4 damage dealers against 2 heavy, thick boys. The airstrike to try to hit onto Powerful, not enough. The crossbow tank will take him down. It's Vendetta trying to zone them out. They need to be able to take the T1, but it's not over yet. As Sayla's trying to dash all over the world. Here, in too deep, but will be able to keep on safe for now. Damage from none is starting to show. Vincent, here comes his Tempest of Blades. Keeps himself alive. He's taking a little bit too much damage. He can't go in without getting popped off and annihilated just like a snap.
Oh, spoke a little bit too early about that end game. Absolute Zero was so close, but that was an amazing fight from Powerful and Gear in an attempt to save the crystal. And now we even see quite a bit of power spike. Van and Vincent both with the new BOD. Sayla with the Clock of Destiny. And Gear, I forgot what he got, but some defensive items. Not gonna be too big of a deal.
The block of none from the Lord. Evil takes it up with a retribution. Because Tsunami Slam into the wall. That's a worthy sacrifice from Gear once again. He falls by the hands of Buji. It's 11-2 and 5 for this Farsa. And it's getting into a late game. The sun's setting. The sun's getting real low. Absolute Zero just needs to clear out this Lord. But Evil scrambling for that defense. The bad thing is, Evil doesn't really have that high ground, Abstract.
Yeah, unfortunately they don't. They are a very comical team, so if anything, they're gonna have to move in together as one, as an absolute unit. So they need to look for these opportunities that Absolute Zero eventually shows to themselves. Like for example, right now, the Feather Aspect just being used. If they have that manpower, they can just jump right in, but unfortunately not. Vincent is nowhere around the vicinity. They do not have gear as well. They need all of their battle spells to be off cooldown to be able to play, to do a big play like that.
So for Buji, having 2 kills, but that was just because Vincent was able to find angles. But right now, the jungle of Evil has been opened up, especially for Absolute Zero. It's much more difficult for them to find a footing outside of their base. They have to be able to play defense. Vincent trying to get Constellation Prize all over the map, especially on that cross lanes. They need to be able to relieve some pressure over from that base as the minions are starting to keep pushing in. Absolute Zero doesn't want to drop a needle to make a sound.
Of course, a single sound can really echo throughout this entire echo chamber. So Absolute Zero, they're looking for that small little opportunity. While Evil, they stay safe, they stay very quiet within of their own base. But as they stay quiet, they let their turret go down.
Jumping in, Tsunami Slam deep into the back line. Bougie once again with a kill onto here. The Immortality still strong for Absolute Zero. They're leading the charge. The snowball has become an avalanche, and Evil just can't seem to find kills onto Absolute Zero. An absolute disaster. The better airstrike popped once again. Ben popped the Purify to get out safe, but it's the crucial resources all utilized. Next Lord spawning up in 40 seconds.
So no Flicker, no Purifies, no Revitalize. The only Purify that we have is coming in from Sayla, but I'm not too sure whether that is even gonna do anything for Team Evil. Absolute Zero stood with their foot planted on the ground. Not a single Flicker was used in that fight to extend the gap or anything. They took their fight like a champ, and they didn't care about anything that Evil throws at them.
Now, here's where things get tricky. Both teams are almost at full build. We're at this point of time where Absolute Zero has that full item power spikes, and all their extra gold is there just to get a little bit of a item trades back and forth. But Evil, down low, back on the fourth quarter, need to be able to find a way to steal this Lord again. This is a pivotal Lord. If Absolute Zero absolutely gets it, it gets demoralized. Now from the back line, Gear on top of Bougie. Down goes that Pharsa. No more zone potential for the side of Absolute Zero as Evil leaves their charge, but they don't have that damage to take anyone down. Sayla already with the Crimson Beacon, but here comes Salas, almost taking him out in the process. Winter Crown will buy him some time, but not enough as one fall after another. Salas goes down as well. Fourth fall by the hands of Evil as Absolute Zero find themselves in a turnaround contention.
What was
Evil,
that?
4 members up, they have the manpower advantage. They're going to push the situation.
Man, without Bougie, it felt like a very big deal. But this replay is going to give us a very good idea, right? Main things first is that they lost Bougie right off the bat. So the artillery is no longer present for Absolute Zero. They lost a huge chunk of damage. But take a look at the northern side, right? Rapidu, Vendetta, as well as Salas. The three of them are supposed to survive pretty effectively. But unfortunately, Vincent, Finch Poise, gets the kill down onto 1-1. And then they go for one after another. Unfortunately, Absolute Zero were a little bit too spaced out.
Bougie falls. He just respawned and he goes down as well. Rapidu against the world. Tsunami Slam will buy some time, but not enough. Salas comes out. Here comes None. Oh, the Lord is still marching in slowly but surely on that top side. Rapidu just bought some time for Salas and None to get back into position.
At this point, I think all they wanted to do for Evil, all they wanted to do is just wait it out, right? He still have about 25 seconds onto his death timer, but unfortunately, I think that the Lord should be able to reach in when Gear has like, what, 5 seconds left to his name. Possibly, but they need to bide their time. Bottom lane T1 just went down. There's still a T2 down to the bottom lane as well. We gotta have to remember that with the inhibitor turrets being destroyed from the side of Evil, this is gonna be quite a tough lane to push, and it will take some time for it to eventually happen. Evil needs to repeat what they have done so far, maybe at least 1 or 2 more times in order to break through the inhibitors.
Here comes Bougie though. Easier said than done because now Absolute Zero has that high ground advantage. But the bottom side and mid side already pushed in. No more T3s. They're leading the charge though. Lord falls. Is Absolute Zero back on that defense. It's all a waiting game once again. Next Lord, 60 seconds. I think Absolute Zero is able to defend this pretty easily. But Evil wants to take down all the T3s, at least open up the options. Tsunami Slam into the wall. Down goes Gear once again. He's 5-9 and 9. He can't seem to tank against the hits that Absolute Zero is throwing onto him.
Do they have the wave clear to do what we wanted them to, though? With the middle lane and the bottom lane being mega creeps, the only one that can realistically be able to push lanes fast enough is really just going to be Bougie. Salas, None, as well as Vendetta, they don't clear wave all that well, so the moment that Evil finds an opportunity and realizes that there is a lot of heavy lanes that is where they want to put most of their resources in.
Good damage, good range from Buji to keep them all at bay. It's a one-on-one fight. Vendetta and Vincent. For Evil, I think it's just sacrificing gear, trying to find angles and flanks onto Buji and take him out in the process, but this leaves room open for Salas to just do his thing, his kite around the enemy. And it's much easier for them because it's just a death ball coming at you. So it's easier to pop all the weakness points and even across one tank. Konami slam over the wall into the Predator airstrike. Lord down low. Vincent trying to find an angle from the back. He goes in, but Buji secures that Lord for Absolute Zero. An absolute disaster for Evil as 2 falls. Ben is no more. Down goes Sayla, and Salas just making a statement for themselves. The Winter Crown with this latch gear will run, but he cannot hide as Salas will be able to take him down. Vincent trying to find and push the situation. He takes out Buji, though. They're taking a tank, but they forgot about the Finch.
Now we've got a pushing lane down in the bottom lane, but Vincent should be able to deal with this no problems. The Lord will then march in from the middle lane, and this is a 20 minutes Lord, mind you. With 20 plus seconds left from the start of Evil, there's no way, Jose, that Vincent is gonna do anything about this.
Yeah, he's a Ling though. He's got the Temples of Blaze all readied up. His Firaga armor already popped up, but Vincent will just let this one slide as Absolute Zero absolutely demolished
crushed
Evil. This was a community team, mind you, Abstract, up against the ex-community favorites in Team Evil. 1 game away is what they need to secure top 3, a community team in the top 3 spot. We haven't seen that since season 3.
You're
When
right.
Evil was the one coming in as a community team into MPLSG and secure the top 3.
It would really suck if Evil were to be knocked out this early. But however, on the flip side, it is definitely a beautiful narrative to see
Yeah.
Absolute Zero from zero to hero.
Can't
they
teach an
become-
old dog new tricks.
Apparently, I mean, I don't know whether they're counted as the old dogs or not.
I
but
think pretty much. They've been here a couple seasons already.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that if they were to win this game, they're gonna have to rename themselves. It's no longer
Nah.
Absolute Zero, or honestly, it's Absolute Heroes,
True.
right?
True.
So I'm looking out for them. This is a great game from them. It is definitely a very close seesaw kind of pattern. It seems like it's going over to Evil.
Yeah.
It seems like it's going to Absolute Zero. But what's really important was that final fight for Absolute Zero. It was definitely a little bit scrappy, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But what matters is that they managed to end the game. They managed to win, or rather, they managed to leave it all the way until it's the Ling, it's the Glue, what's left from them with a big little Lord pushing in with Mega Creep. So what can these two possibly do? Even if they just left these two to their devices, it's not like they can't end the game anyways.
Yeah. I think that was a good try by Vincent trying to delay time by taking out all the minions, but you don't want to lose yourself as a Ling. So I guess he just throw all his resources, but in the end, he's just eating popcorn on the high
On the
ledge and
ledge.
just watching his team fall. And yeah, we'll just work out next game.
Yep.
But speaking of which, next game is gonna get very intense, and trust me, because Evil will find a way to. If they do not adapt, I feel like Absolute Zero will take over this battlefield. Let's take a look at post-game statistics right here. Notable mention to Buji with 13 kills, 5 deaths, and 8 assists on this Farsa.
Yeah, I think that he played a phenomenal role and a very big role in this, right? If only the 2 is a 1 for the game time.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 7. Oh, perfect. This is like our generation thing.
maybe.
Up until now, I still have no idea what lead means.
What?
LET. Oh, yeah, LET. It's like 1, 2, 3, 7. You know, it's like our generation stuff.
Nah, I don't get you.
My age is showing. But anyways, back to Buji once again, right? He played a phenomenal role. He's pretty much the one that zones everyone from the side of Evil. And we mentioned about the fact that Evil, they have to go to you
Yep.
in order to realistically be able to do anything, be it Vincent, Gear, not all powerful. I already mentioned that Gear and Powerful is already more or less counted by by 2 of the members from the side of AZ with that Xbox as well as the CC. They melt down the front line so easily. And Evil, unfortunately, really requires these 2 Glue and the Baxia to stay alive in order to, kind of whittle down the back lines.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like the Glue and Baksha combo was
Uh-huh.
very 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks ago, like a lot of teams don't know how to deal with two tanks. But right now, a lot of teams are actually pulling out the 1-1 to try to get easy weakness points. You're able
Yeah.
to kite around. You have a built-in Purify.
Always a good answer to
It's
like
always a good
big
answer
chunky
to
tanks.
big chunky tanks, and you build up the DHS. That's how you melt them down as well.
Mhm.
And once you have the Malefic gun, I
Free
feel like it's
weakness.
all over.
Mm.
You have the extra range to play with. You have the extra attack speed, and I think Sailors really played a heck of a game this time around. Not only that, I think he was just empowered by Buji because once you have the Feather Airstrike, Sailors can just go around the zone that the Feather Airstrike has created and
Uh-huh.
just try to get as much weakness points as possible. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you get the weakness points off, throw in the crossbar Tang that secures that kill.
This really feels like a tiny little throwback over to metas from months, if not years ago, right?
Yeah.
Looking at CCs and Xbox. In fact, I really appreciate the fact that AZ, as a coachless team, came up with an Xbox
Yeah.
because most of us are just meta slaves. We just think about, okay, what's great in the meta right now?
Yeah.
How do we conform to our current team? How do we play around our current team? But AZ thinks a little bit outside the box. They consider heroes of the current meta, of previous metas as well, and look at things less in the meta view, but it's more of the overall view, right? Out of all of these heroes, what are good answers out there? Has it been successful in the previous seasons? What's wrong with it right now? Is it because it's just outdated, or is it because there is a certain counter in the current meta that doesn't allow this hero to work out? Well, it's not going to be the case anymore, as I believe that Xbox back then, he was popular because he is a very good counter over to Glue. But why was he phased out again? I think he was only phased out because it's a new evolved meta.
I don't know. It's just the early game that
Right.
doesn't really have a lot of Firaga armor. You need to be very skilled in terms of mechanics to be able to kite around to deal as much damage as possible while just mitigating the damage taken to you. Because in the early game, the Firaga armor is not as much as the late game where you can out sustain, and even with your actual health bar, you can still stay alive in team
Yeah.
fights. But then again, I have to say this is actually AZ with a pick-off composition in the form of Rapidude getting those Tsunami Slams in. He knows that the tanks will come in first. So let's just deal with the tanks because it takes some time for Sayla, it takes some time for Ven to really come in to deal that damage. So let's just
Mhm.
take care of the tanks first, and then we'll set our sights and our focus up on all of the main damage dealers. And I think they played it so beautifully well.
Although I gotta have to say, I do prefer Ven onto Granger this time.
Yes.
In the previous games, he has been playing Bruno so much, but he ended the game with like 0 kills all the time. It's honestly kind of a downer.
It is a downer.
So now with the Granger, I think that he's way better than that and definitely good. But
Yep.
for this game, MVP goes over to Vendetta as the CC. 2 kills, 6 deaths, 16 assists. Definitely don't expect. I definitely don't expect that because CC is probably one of the most unimpactful hero in terms of flare and cloud.
Well, I understand where they're coming from, especially for Vendetta in how he plays the CC on
Uh-huh.
a split lane potential. Because now, don't forget, they have not really an assassin in their lineup. They have to throw one person into the long lanes to make sure that it's pushed in. Make sure you alleviate the pressure off on the long side so that you don't need to claw your way up on the opposite side of the map. And I think CC actually did it well. And the matter of fact is, whenever Vendetta comes, whenever the Ling comes into the picture, and Vendetta was there to try to stop the approach, he throws in the curtain call. He gets the yo-yos down, deals a lot of damage, and forces the Tempest of Blades for Ling to pop back out. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of crucial resources waiting. And honestly, though, I think an unsung member of the entire roster of Absolute Zero. And huge shout out to all the EXP laners out there, especially for you, Abstract. I know this meta is really a very tough meta, especially for EXP laners, and only the best of the best can adapt to that situation.
Yeah.